At 2:38 in the morning, I found my 6-year-old son asleep on the floor beside our back door. He had one sneaker on. His backpack was under his head like a pillow. His winter coat was pulled over his chest. The back door was open 3 inches. It was 22 degrees outside. My husband was supposed to be watching him. Instead, Daniel was upstairs in our bed with my younger sister. And when I opened that bedroom door, neither of them looked surprised enough. I thought catching them together was the worst thing I would learn that night. I was wrong. Because by breakfast, my son told me someone else in my family had been helping them. My name is Claire Monroe. I was 37 when my marriage ended. Although I understand now that a marriage can start ending long before anybody leaves. Sometimes it happens quietly. One ignored text. One promise pushed to next weekend. One dinner where 2 people sit at the same table but spend the entire meal somewhere else in their heads. Daniel and I had been married 11 years. We lived in Worthington, Ohio, in a 4-bedroom split level that looked like thousands of other Midwestern family homes. Maple tree in front, faded basketball hoop above the garage, a deck that needed staining, a side gate with a bad latch Daniel had promised to fix since summer. Inside the pantry door were pencil marks showing our son Noah's height over the years. I had started doing it when he was 3. Daniel complained once that writing on the house might hurt the resale value. I told him if somebody refused to buy a house because a child had grown up in it, I didn't want them buying ours anyway. He laughed then. There had been a time when we laughed easily. I worked as an operations manager at a pediatric rehabilitation center in Columbus. It wasn't glamorous. Most days were schedules, staffing shortages, parent calls, broken equipment, therapy, authorizations, and trying to solve 12 problems before lunch. Daniel installed cabinets and did small kitchen remodeling jobs. I was good at it. Give him a crooked cabinet in 5 minutes and he'd know exactly where the problem was. That irony isn't lost on me now. The night everything came apart, our center was holding its winter fundraiser at a downtown hotel. I was supposed to leave by 11. Then a catering employee called off. A donor got sick. 3 auction items were delivered to the wrong ballroom. By the time things settled, it was after 2. Daniel had texted me several times that evening. That should have seemed strange. At 8:40, still there. At 10:07, how much longer? At 11:00, guess it's another late one. At the time, I read irritation. Later, I understood he was checking the clock. I texted him from the parking garage. Leaving now, sorry, kiss Noah for me. No answer. Freezing rain had started. The drive home took about 25 minutes. I remember thinking about the leftover baked ziti in the refrigerator. I remember wondering whether Noah had put his tooth under his pillow. He'd lost one that morning. Daniel had told him the tooth fairy charged a late fee if teeth weren't properly submitted before bedtime. Noah had laughed so hard milk came through his nose. That morning had been ordinary. Betrayal does something cruel to ordinary memories. Afterward, you inspect them for clues. When I turned onto our street, I noticed the porch light was off. It had been flickering for weeks. Daniel kept promising he'd replace the fixture. Then I noticed the side gate. Open. The wind pushed it against the fence. Bong. Pause. Bong. I hadn't fixed that either. I parked. For a few seconds, I stayed behind the wheel. Something felt wrong. Nothing supernatural. My house simply didn't look like my house. The front door was unlocked. Daniel was obsessive about locking doors when Noah was home. I stepped inside. The living room lamp was on. 2 wine glasses sat on the coffee table. One had pale pink lipstick around the rim. I don't wear pink lipstick. Then I saw the purse. Cream leather. Gold chain. Hanging from a dining chair. I had helped Madison choose it at an outlet mall 6 months earlier. My younger sister. For one generous second, I assumed something had happened. Maybe she'd fought with someone. Maybe she needed a place to stay. Maybe Daniel had invited her over because she was upset. Then I noticed her black boots, placed neatly beside the stairs. Not dumped by the door. Neatly placed. Like she'd expected to stay a while. Daniel, nothing. Noah, nothing. I walked toward the hallway. Noah's bedroom door was open. His dinosaur nightlight glowed beside an untouched bed. My stomach tightened. Noah. Bathroom. Empty. Guest room. Empty. Basement. Empty. By then I wasn't thinking about Madison anymore. I was scared. I came through the kitchen and felt cold air against my ankles. The back door was cracked open, and Noah was on the floor, curled between the mudroom bench and the door. One sneaker, one socked foot tucked under him, his winter coat pulled across his chest, his backpack beneath his head. For one terrible second, I couldn't see him breathing. I dropped my purse. Noah. I was on my knees beside him. My hand went to his shoulder, then his neck. Warm enough. Breathing. He stirred. Mom, I'm here, baby. Cold. I know. I closed the door, locked it, and lifted him. At 6, he was getting heavy. I didn't care. His arms wrapped around my neck. His cheek was cold. I sat on the couch and wrapped us both in a blanket. Why were you down there? His eyes barely opened. Bad dream. Where was Daddy? Upstairs. I swallowed. Did you look for him? A tiny nod. Couldn't find him. My chest tightened. Was Aunt Madison here? I was already falling asleep again. I carried him into the downstairs guest room and tucked him under the comforter. Then I stood beside the bed and listened to him breathe. That was when I heard something upstairs. A small laugh. A woman's. I didn't need another clue. I walked upstairs. Slowly. Our bedroom door was closed. A line of warm yellow light showed underneath it. I put my hand on the knob. Opened it. Daniel was halfway upright against the headboard. Madison was beside him. My comforter pulled to her chest. Daniel's t-shirt on the floor. Her blouse hanging over the chair where I normally laid out my work clothes. There was no explanation waiting to be discovered. Only confirmation. My husband. My sister. My bed. My child downstairs. Cold. Alone. Daniel said my name. Claire. Madison stared at me. Claire, wait. Neither of them looked shocked enough. That bothered me immediately. Madison was frightened. Daniel looked irritated. Not confused. Not panicked. I took out my phone and hit record. Daniel sat straighter. Seriously, that was his first reaction. Seriously. Not where's Noah, not I'm sorry. I said your son was asleep on the floor beside an open back door. His face changed slightly. He must have gone downstairs. How long ago? I don't know. You didn't notice. We were asleep. We. That word. So comfortable. I looked at Madison. How long? Daniel answered. This isn't the time. I turned back to him. Where was your son? Claire, he's fine. Those two words ended something inside me. He's fine. Not I failed him. Not I should have hurt him. He's fine. Madison pulled the comforter tighter. We didn't mean for this to happen. I looked at the purse downstairs in my mind. The neatly placed boots. The wine. Her blouse. Daniel asking all night what time I'd be home. Then you're the most organized accident I've ever seen. She flinched. Daniel sighed. Don't make this uglier than it already is. I actually laughed. One short sound. I'm making it uglier. You know what I mean. No, explain it. Hen ran a hand through his hair. You've been gone constantly for years. There it was. Already. The defense. You're always working. You're exhausted when you're home. You're on your laptop at dinner. Madison whispered Daniel. But he kept going. Do you know what it's like living with someone who's physically there but never really present? For half a second, guilt reached me. Then I remembered Noah's backpack beneath his head. If you were lonely, you could have told me. I did. You complained about my schedule, and nothing changed. Then you could have left. Silence. You could have left before you climbed into bed with my sister. Madison spoke. You always make everything sound so simple. I looked at her. She had stopped crying. Her expression was sharper now. You don't know what it feels like always being second to you. Even then, even sitting naked in my bed. She wanted to make herself the injured person. I stared at her. You're wearing my life like you think it fits. She looked down. She was wearing my old gray Ohio State sweatshirt. I hadn't noticed until then. Take that off. She blinked. What? My sweatshirt. Daniel groaned. For God's sake, Claire. I wasn't talking to you. Madison's mouth tightened. You always do that. Do what? Talk to people like they're employees. I could have argued. Instead, from downstairs came a sleepy voice. Mom. Everything else stopped mattering. I turned toward the door. Behind me, Daniel said. You're seriously just leaving? I looked back. My 6-year-old needed a parent tonight. Then I went downstairs. I packed fast. Clothes. Toothbrush. Noah's inhaler. School bag. Stuffed fox. My laptop. Phone charger. Things that don't sound dramatic until your life has fallen apart, and suddenly they are the difference between staying and leaving. Daniel came into the kitchen wearing jeans. You're not taking Noah. I stopped. Where was he when I came home? His jaw tightened. I wandered downstairs. And where were you? Don't do this. Where? He said nothing. Exactly. Madison appeared behind him, now wearing leggings and still wearing my sweatshirt. I looked at her. She folded her arms. You left this marriage long before tonight. That one surprised even Daniel. I stared at her. Then she added, You were barely home anyway. Maybe now this place can actually feel like somebody lives here. There it was. The cruelty I needed. Not a mistake. Not confusion. Resentment. I picked up Noah. He stirred against my shoulder. Mommy, where are we going? Brooks. Is Daddy coming? My throat closed. No, baby. Daniel stepped toward us. Claire. I backed away. Don't. Maybe it was something in my face. He stopped. I walked out. The broken gate hit the fence behind me. Bang. Pause. Bang. Brooke Turner opened her door at 3:31 wearing Bengals pajama pants and one slipper. She took one look at Noah asleep against my shoulder. Then my face. What happened? Daniel is sleeping with Madison. Brooke closed her eyes. Not shock. Pain. I noticed it. I was too tired to understand it. She stepped aside. Come in. She gave Noah and me her bedroom. She slept on the couch. No speeches. No questions. No advice. At 4:08 my phone started ringing. Daniel. Ignored. Madison. Ignored. Mom. I answered. Claire. My mother sounded completely awake. Too awake. Mom. Daniel called. What did he tell you? That there was some kind of misunderstanding. I looked across Brooke's dark kitchen. There wasn't. Claire. I found him in bed with Madison. Silence. And Noah was downstairs on the floor beside an open door. What? That sounded real. Oh my God, is he okay? Yes. Thank God. Finally. Something human. Then, please don't make any permanent decisions tonight. I closed my eyes. Why is that your concern? I'm worried about everyone. Everyone. The family. The structure. The thing my mother had spent her entire adult life protecting. I'm going to bed. Your sister is hysterical. There it was. I hung up. The next morning, Noah woke asking whether Brooke had chocolate cereal. She made pancakes instead. Hen ate 3. Children have a strange way of pulling adults back toward ordinary life. Then, without looking up from his plate, he said, Grandma said I wasn't supposed to tell you Aunt Madison came over. My fork stopped. Brooke froze. What? Noah poured more syrup. Grandma said it was grown-up stuff. When did Grandma say that? Yesterday. Grandma came to our house. He nodded. She brought Daddy a big envelope. I kept my voice soft. What else did Grandma say? That Aunt Madison was coming later and it was a surprise and you were tired from work. I couldn't feel my fingers. Did Daddy tell you to keep secrets too? No, he calls them surprises. My stomach dropped. What surprises? Noah stared at his pancake. Sometimes Aunt Madison stays after I go to bed. Brooke put her hand over her mouth. I moved beside Noah. Look at me. I did. You are never in trouble for telling me something. His face tightened. Am I in trouble? That question hurt more than anything Daniel had said. No, baby. I touched his cheek. Never for telling me the truth. Is Grandma in trouble? That is grown-up stuff. He smiled a little at hearing his own phrase. I kissed his forehead. Then I looked at Brooke. She looked sick. What? Claire? How long have you known? I didn't know. That wasn't my question. She sat down slowly. 2 years ago I saw them together. Everything stopped again. Where? Easton. What did you see? They were having lunch. I waited. Brooke. His hand was on her knee. I looked away. You didn't tell me. I convinced myself I was wrong. For 2 years, you had just gone back to work after Noah was sick. You told me you and Daniel were doing better. You decided for me. Her eyes filled. Yes. That stopped me. No defense. No claim that she had protected me. Just yes. I was wrong, she said. I should have told you. I stayed angry. But anger feels different when the person across from you accepts responsibility. Anything else? Brooke hesitated. Madison left me a voicemail last February. What kind of voicemail? She was drunk. Play it. Brooke found it. Madison's voice filled the kitchen. Loose. Bitter. I know everybody thinks Claire's perfect. Mom does. Dad does. Daniel practically worships her. She gets there first and then everybody acts like there isn't anything left for anyone else. I just want one thing she thought was hers. One thing. I want her to know what second place feels like. The message ended. No elaborate plan. No legal conspiracy. Just something uglier because it sounded real. Jealousy grown old enough to become entitlement. Brooke whispered, "I'm sorry. You should have told me." "I know. I don't know when I'll stop being angry." "I understand." I nodded. That was my first lesson in the difference between someone who hurt you and someone determined to make their hurt your fault. At 8:43, Mom texted, "Please call when you've slept. Madison is a wreck." Then, whatever happened, she's still your sister. I took screenshots. Not for court, for memory. Because I knew my mother. Give her 6 months and she'd remember herself as neutral. Daniel texted next. "We need to talk like adults." Then, "You can't punish me through Noah." Then, "Nothing that happened has anything to do with him." I looked across the room at the faint red mark still visible on Noah's cheek. I replied once, "I was asleep on the floor beside an open door while you were upstairs." Everything that happened has something to do with him. Daniel answered, "Stop rewriting what happened." He walked downstairs. I stared at the message. That was Daniel. If reality made him look bad, the problem was how reality was described. I didn't reply. 2 days later, I met Mom at a Panera halfway between my parents' house and Brooke's. She arrived early. Camel coat, pearl earrings, perfect hair. My mother dressed carefully when life felt out of control. She reached for me. I sat down before she could hug me. Her face fell. "I hate what this is doing to our family." "Do you hate what they did?" "Of course." "Then why did you tell Noah to keep Madison's visit secret?" She looked down. "I didn't say it like that." That almost made me laugh. "What did you say?" "That Madison and Daniel were working on something and you were stressed." "What something?" She rubbed her thumb around her coffee cup. "Your father's store." Hayes Hardware had been in Delaware, Ohio for 31 years. One location. Old wooden floors. A bell above the door. Dad knew customers by name. A large home improvement store had opened nearby a few years earlier. I knew business had slowed. I didn't know how badly. "What about the store? How was behind?" "How much?" "Almost 30,000. I stared at her. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Your father was ashamed, so you told Daniel." "Hun figured it out. Daniel bought supplies there." That made sense. "He offered to help," Mom said. "With what?" "Money." "Whose?" Her silence told me enough. "I didn't know it was yours." "You didn't ask." "He said it was temporary." I leaned back. "And Madison, she wanted to open that salon." I knew. Madison had talked about it for years. 3 styling chairs, a small reception area, a place that was finally hers. I had offered to help her make a budget. She never sent me the numbers. "Daniel was helping her price the renovation," Mom said. "She didn't want you involved." "Why?" Mom hesitated. "She said you'd take over." That hurt because there was probably some truth in it. "And that meant you gave Daniel my schedule." Mom looked away. "How many times?" 3 or 4. My chest tightened. "You told my husband when I wouldn't be home so he could secretly meet my sister in my house." "I didn't know that was what they were doing." "Did you ever see anything?" Silence. "Mom." September. 2 months earlier. I came by. Madison was there. They were sitting on the couch. "How?" She wiped beneath one eye. "Too close." "And you said nothing." I asked Madison. "What did she say?" "That I was imagining it." "And you believed her?" Mom looked directly at me. I wanted to. Finally. "Truth." "Why?" "Because if I didn't, everything would fall apart." I nodded slowly. "You mean the family would look broken?" "Claire, you chose appearance over information." I was scared. "I believe you." Her face softened. Then I said, "Fear explains it, it doesn't excuse it." She cried. I let her. For most of my life, my mother's tears had been an instruction. Comfort me. End the argument. Say we're okay. That day they belonged to her. Did Dad know? I knew Daniel was helping us financially. Did he know the money might be mine? Mom stared at the table. He suspected. I closed my eyes. There it was. Everyone had been standing 1 inch from the truth, deciding ignorance was easier. That night I checked our savings. There should have been roughly $48,000. There was barely 21. I stared at the screen for a long time. No complicated transactions. No mystery companies. Just withdrawals. 2,200. 3,000. 1,800. 4,000. Ordinary amounts disappearing across ordinary months. Then I checked Noah's account. $6,000 gone. That was the moment I cried. Not because $6,000 would determine his future. I could replace it. Because Daniel had looked at money with our son's name attached to it and decided his wants mattered more. I called him. He answered immediately. Finally. Where is the money? Silence. What money? Don't insult me. Claire. $27,000. I exhaled. Some went to your father. How much? 9. And the rest? Madison Salon. My hand tightened around the phone. How much? About 11. And Noah's 6,000. It was temporary. I actually laughed. You took $6,000 from your son's savings. I was going to put it back. When? When things stabilized. What things? You always do this. Do what? Make every decision sound criminal because you don't approve of it. I closed my eyes. I don't approve of stealing from your child. It wasn't stealing. Then replace it today. Silence. Exactly. He snapped. You act like every dollar belongs to you because you earn more. I have never said that. You don't need to. You make everybody feel it. There was truth mixed into manipulation again. The dangerous kind. I may have made you feel small sometimes. I went quiet. I may have been impatient. I may have taken over things instead of listening. His voice softened. Exactly. But grown adults speak or leave, Daniel. The softness vanished. You don't get to make my work the villain in a story about your dishonesty. Hun hung up. 10 minutes later, Madison texted. This was never about your money. I answered. $11,000 says otherwise. Her reply came immediately. Daniel invested in me because someone finally believed in me. Then, you would have turned my salon into another Claire project. I stared at it. She sent another. You were barely home anyway. Maybe stop acting like someone stole a perfect life from you. That one did what she intended. It hurt. I typed. Mom and Dad comparing us was wrong. Daniel being unhappy may have been real. None of that made my husband something you were owed. 3 dots. Then, you still don't get it. I replied, no. You still think being hurt gave you permission to hurt me. I stopped there. A week later, Madison called. I answered. You really want to know why she asked? Why what? Why I stopped caring what happened to your marriage. I stayed silent. You always had everything first. So began listing things. My college acceptance party. Her cosmetology graduation with pizza. Dad bragging about my job. Mom talking about my house. Then Noah arriving and becoming the center of every holiday. You know what Mom asks me every Christmas? What? Whether I'm seeing anyone. Like I'm an unfinished woman until somebody chooses me. That hurt to hear. That wasn't fair. She paused. No, but I didn't do that to you. I benefited from it. That's not the same. You never stopped them. I was your sister, not your parent. Silence. Then I said something I hadn't planned. I probably did make it worse sometimes. She didn't answer. I like solving things. I thought helping meant taking control. A shaky breath from her. When you talked about the salon, I immediately asked for numbers. You made me feel like a child. I thought I was supporting you. You weren't. Then I'm sorry for that. She started crying. For a moment, we were sisters again. Then I said, but Daniel wasn't repayment. She went silent. You don't get to balance childhood unfairness by taking pieces of my adulthood. Her voice hardened. He came to me. Then he failed me too. You really think you're better than everyone? No. Yes. I think sleeping with your sister's husband is worse than offering too much budgeting advice. She hung up. Christmas came 5 weeks later. Mom texted. I want everybody home Christmas Eve. Noah needs normalcy. I called. Who is everybody? She hesitated. Madison. And Daniel. Your father thinks. No. Claire. Noah is not spending Christmas Eve watching his father and aunt behave like their relationship is normal. Nobody is asking that. Then don't invite Daniel. He's still family. There it was. Family. The word people use when they want history to outweigh behavior. I said you can invite Daniel and Madison or you can have Noah and me. Not both. You're making me choose between my daughters. Madison already made that choice for you. Dad called 20 minutes later. Your mom's upset. I know. She says you gave her an ultimatum. I gave her a boundary. I sighed. Then I asked him directly. Did you know where the money came from? Silence. Dad. Daniel said it was joint money. Did you ask me? No. Why? His answer was simple. I needed it. That honesty hurt less than Mom's explanations. Did you know about Madison? No. Did you suspect? A pause. Once. When? October. I went to return Daniel's drill. Madison's car was outside. So, it was after 11. My stomach dropped. Did you go inside? No, Daniel came out. What did he say? They were working on the salon. And you chose to believe him? Yes. No excuse. Just yes. How many people saw enough to wonder and decided not to tell me? Dad stayed quiet. Then, I am sorry. No but. That mattered. Christmas Eve, Noah and I stayed at the apartment with Brooke. We ordered Chinese food. Noah built a blanket fort across half the living room. At 7, someone knocked. Dad stood outside holding a cardboard box. I'm not staying. What is this? Noah's gifts. Inside was an envelope. A cashier's check for $4,000. Dad, part of what I owe you. Where did you get this? Sold the fishing boat. His old aluminum boat. I love that thing. You didn't have to. Yes, he said, I did. That was the first real consequence anyone had accepted without asking me to soften it. At 9:66, Madison texted a photograph. My parents' dining table. Mom, Madison, Daniel. Dad's chair empty because he had come to see me. Daniel was sitting in my usual seat. Caption: Wish you hadn't chosen anger over family. Brooke read it over my shoulder. She did not. I looked at the picture. Then typed, You're sitting beside my husband at my mother's Christmas table 5 weeks after I found you in my bed. If anyone asks why I'm absent, show them this photo. Send. She blocked me. Peaceful Christmas. 2 weeks later, my cousin sent me another screenshot. Madison standing in my kitchen. My kitchen. Tulips on the island. Daniel behind her. Caption: Some places finally feel peaceful when the right people are in them. I zoomed in. Noah's kindergarten picture was still on the refrigerator. My family calendar was beside it, my life hanging in the background while my sister posed as though she'd inherited it. I called Daniel. What is Madison doing in the house? She stays there. You moved her in. You moved out. I left carrying your son after finding you with her. You made that choice. I almost screamed. Instead, I said, remove my photographs and personal things before she starts treating them like decorations. You're jealous. That word freed me. Daniel, I would rather sleep on Brooke's couch for the rest of my life than trade places with Madison. Silence. I am not jealous of a woman who had to betray her sister to feel chosen. Then I hung up. The following Saturday, Brooke and Dad came with me to collect my belongings. The broken gate was still banging. Bong. Pause. Bong. Daniel still hadn't fixed it. Inside, Madison's perfume had replaced the smell I associated with home. Her coat was on my hook, her shoes beneath my bench. Then I saw the hallway. My pictures were gone. Where are they? Daniel shrugged. Basement. I walked downstairs. There was a plastic storage bin. Inside, my wedding pictures, my college graduation, me holding newborn Noah, Noah's first birthday, a photograph of Madison and me at Cedar Point when we were teenagers. My life had been boxed up so my sister could feel comfortable upstairs. Dad stood behind me. I saw the bin. His face changed. I went upstairs. Daniel. I heard the warning in his voice. Daniel answered, Frank, stay out of it. You boxed up my daughter. They're pictures. You boxed up her life. I carried the bin upstairs. Madison came from the hallway wearing one of my aprons. What are you doing here? I almost smiled. Collecting whatever you haven't started wearing. She flushed. I live here now. Daniel looked away. I nodded. Okay. She hadn't expected that. What? Live here. I pointed toward the pantry. See those pencil marks? She looked. Those are Noah's heights. Nobody spoke. The dent beside the refrigerator is where Daniel dropped a skillet 3 weeks after we moved in. Daniel stared at the floor. The stain under the cabinet is from Noah throwing blueberries when he was 2. I looked at Madison. You can move into the rooms. You can put shampoo in the shower. You can take down pictures. My voice stayed calm. But you cannot become the years that happened here before you decided you deserved them. Her eyes filled. You wanted one thing you thought belonged to me. She went pale. She knew I had heard the voicemail. Yes, I said, I heard it. Daniel turned toward her. Heard what? Madison shook her head. Nothing. I looked at him. Interesting. Apparently, you two still have secrets from each other. For the first time, I saw uncertainty move between them. I picked up the bin. Dad took the other side. We left. 3 weeks later was Mom's 60th birthday. She asked everyone to dinner. I initially refused. Dad called. Please come. Daniel. Yes. Madison. Yes. Then no. Your mother wants the truth in one room. That sounds like a disaster. It probably will be. Despite myself, I laughed. Dad added, I am done protecting people from uncomfortable conversations. That made me agree. Noah stayed with Brooke. Dinner was at my parents' house. Pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans, birthday cake nobody wanted, Mom, Dad, me, Madison, Daniel, Aunt Kathy, Uncle Jim, witnesses. We sat. Nobody touched the food. Mom spoke first. I need to say something before anyone starts arguing. Madison rolled her eyes. Mom saw it, ignored it. I compared my daughters. The room went quiet. Madison looked at her. I told myself Claire's accomplishments would motivate you. Madison's eyes filled. I celebrated things differently. Dad nodded. I did too. Madison stared at them. I thought pushing you would make you stronger, Dad said. Instead, I made you feel like you were losing a competition your sister didn't even know we were holding. I looked at him. That was better than any apology I'd expected. Madison started crying. I was always second. Mom reached for her. Madison let her. I watched. And I didn't feel erased. That was new. Then Madison looked at me. You still don't understand. Probably not completely. She seemed almost annoyed. You had everything. No, you did. I had things you wanted. Same thing. No, she stared. I said, Mom and Dad failed you. Both parents stayed quiet. They made you feel less celebrated. They made adulthood look like a race I was winning. Madison wiped her face. Yes, that was wrong. Her shoulders dropped. But I didn't do that to you. Her eyes hardened. You stood there while it happened. I was a kid too. Silence. I was 13 when you were 10. 17 when you were 14. You're asking a child version of me to have recognized a wound the adults in this room didn't recognize. She looked away. When we were adults, I helped you. Sometimes too much. Sometimes in ways that probably felt controlling. Madison whispered they did. I believe you. That surprised her. Then, but you weren't owed my pain. The room went completely silent. You weren't owed my husband. You weren't owed my house. You weren't owed my son's savings because Mom gave me a bigger graduation party. Madison's jaw tightened. Daniel leaned back. This is getting ridiculous. I turned. He had been quiet too long. He continued. Everyone's acting like Claire had no role in any of this. Aunt Kathy said, a role in you sleeping with her sister. You don't know our marriage. I know enough. Daniel looked at me. Tell them how many nights you weren't home. I nodded. Plenty. How many weekends you worked? Some. How often you answered calls during dinner? Too often. He spread his hands. There. Like he had won. I said I was not a perfect wife. He paused. I worked too much. I took over. I probably made you feel unnecessary sometimes. His expression softened. Then I continued. But you had 11 years to use words. His face closed again. You could have asked for counseling. You could have left. You could have slept in another room. You could have done 100 painful things before choosing my sister. Madison whispered. Hein loved me. Daniel looked at her. Something flickered across his face. She saw it. Loved. Madison, don't. Do you love me? Not here. Her face drained. Say it. Can we not turn this into a performance? I almost felt sorry for her. Then Madison turned toward me. You're enjoying this. No, you wanted us to fail. No, I wanted you not to happen. Dad coughed into his hand to hide what might have been a laugh. Daniel stood. I shouldn't have come. Madison stood too. You're leaving. Yes, with me. He hesitated. 1 second. Maybe less. It was enough. Madison laughed. Oh my God. Don't do this. You said we were building a life. We are. You moved me into the house. Because Claire left. The room froze. Madison stared at him. Because Claire left. Not because I chose you. Not because you're my future. Because there was an empty space. You told me once she was gone we'd finally breathe. Daniel's face changed. Madison. She was angry now. Angry enough to stop protecting him. You said she'd never leave unless something forced her. I went still. Daniel said stop. Madison looked at me. He said you were too proud to end the marriage. My heart started pounding. Daniel snapped shut up. Dad stood. Don't talk to her like that. Madison laughed through tears. He said if you ever saw us, you'd finally leave. Everything in that bedroom came back. The unlocked door. Her purse displayed downstairs. Her boots beside the stairs. The wine glasses. Daniel texting me repeatedly. Still there. How much longer? Neither of them surprised enough when I opened the door. I stared at Daniel. You wanted me to catch you? No, Madison whispered. Yes. Mom made a sound like someone had hit her. Daniel turned on Madison. It wasn't like that. What was it like? I asked. Nobody answered. When was I supposed to come home? Madison cried. Earlier. My stomach twisted. The fundraiser ran late. She nodded. And suddenly the worst part of that night became clear. They had expected me. They had left a trail. The glasses. The purse. The boots. Maybe even the unlocked door. They wanted discovery. They wanted a dramatic break big enough that I would leave instead of asking Daniel to repair the marriage. But I had come home later than planned. While they waited upstairs drinking wine in my bedroom, Noah woke from a nightmare. I went looking for his father. No one heard him. My child had become collateral damage in a scene designed to destroy me. I looked at Daniel. You knew Noah was home. I was asleep. Now you woke up. I didn't know. That's the point. Daniel shook his head. You're twisting it. There it was again. I almost smiled. No. I stood. For once I'm not. Madison suddenly turned toward Daniel. Did you take the money from Noah's account? He stared at her. She looked at me. You said 6,000. Yes. Madison looked back at him. You told me you wouldn't touch that account. Daniel's jaw tightened. It was temporary. She laughed bitterly. You lied to me. Daniel stared at her. You slept with your sister's husband and now you're upset about honesty. She slapped him. The sound cracked across the dining room. Mom screamed. Dad stepped between them. Daniel cursed. I picked up my purse. Everyone looked at me. I looked at Madison first. Mom and Dad should have seen you better, she cried silently. They should have celebrated you without comparing you to me. I took a breath. And I am sorry for the times I acted like helping gave me the right to manage you. Her mouth trembled. But I will not apologize for having a life you wanted. She looked down. You were hurt. Pause. You weren't owed my pain. Then Daniel. I wasn't perfect. He stared at me. But you did not betray me because I was impossible to love. Nothing. I betrayed me because dishonesty was easier than courage. I turned toward my parents. I love you. Mom cried harder. But loving you does not mean you automatically get access to me. Then I left. I sat in my car for 5 minutes, phone buzzing. I didn't look. Eventually, I started the engine. Dad had sent one text. I love you. Drive safe. Nothing else. That was enough. Daniel and Madison lasted another month. Not because I exposed them. Not because I plotted revenge. Because two people who built intimacy through deception eventually discovered they didn't trust each other. Daniel moved into a small apartment near Dublin. Madison returned to the salon where she'd worked before. Her new shop never opened. The money she'd expected to use for the renovation had to start coming back. I replaced Noah's $6,000 immediately. Daniel spent the next year repaying me for every dollar taken from that account. Dad kept paying back the $9,000 he'd accepted. First the fishing boat, then small monthly checks from part-time work he took after finally closing Hayes Hardware. Madison sent $1,000 3 months after the dinner. No explanation. Just a note. This isn't enough. I'll keep paying. She did. Small amounts. Slowly. Mom stopped trying to organize family reunions disguised as holidays, so began seeing a therapist. I didn't ask her to. That mattered. The Worthington house went on the market in spring. Some relatives expected me to fight for it. I didn't want it. I didn't want to sleep in that bedroom again. I didn't want Madison's perfume removed from the walls so I could move back in and declare victory. A house was not a trophy. We sold it. I bought a smaller ranch house in Westerville. 3 bedrooms, 1 outdated bathroom, a fenced yard, a huge oak tree. The kitchen was half the size of the old one. Noah loved it. He chose the bedroom facing the backyard. What color, I asked? Bird blue. I had no idea what bird blue meant. At Lowe's, he pointed at ordinary sky blue. Apparently, that was bird blue. We painted it together. Mostly, I painted the walls. Noah painted himself. Brooke brought pizza. Dad replaced two loose outlets. This time I let him. I'd spent years believing strength meant doing everything myself. It didn't. Strength was choosing whose help came without control attached to it. Mom didn't visit the first few weeks. Then she texted, "I have Noah's books. May I bring them Saturday? I can leave them outside if you'd prefer." I stared at that message. No guilt. No, you've punished me enough. A question. A boundary acknowledged. I answered. 2 p.m. you can stay for coffee. She arrived at 1:58. Noah hugged her. Mom cried. Then she wiped her face before he could think he was responsible for making her feel better. That small gesture told me therapy might actually be doing something. Madison and I didn't speak for almost a year. Then on my 38th birthday, a small envelope appeared. Inside was an old photograph. Madison and me at Cedar Point. I was 16. She was 13. Both soaked from a water ride. Both laughing. On the back she'd written, "Before we started keeping score." Nothing else. I didn't call her. I texted, "I got it." She answered, "Okay." Months later, "Would you ever have coffee with me?" I replied, "Not yet." Her answer, "I understand." That was new too. No accusation, no demand, no claim that family should mean immediate forgiveness. Maybe someday we would become sisters again. Maybe we wouldn't. I stopped needing to know. Daniel changed too, although more slowly. His first apologies were not apologies. "I miss Noah. I miss our family. We both made mistakes." I ignored them. Eventually he sent, "I destroyed something I should have protected." That was closer. I replied only about Noah. Over time, Daniel became more consistent as a father. He stopped introducing women to Noah. I showed up on time. I went to therapy after Noah once asked him, "Why did you make mommy leave?" I don't know what Daniel told the therapist. It wasn't my business. Being a better father later didn't erase what happened. It simply meant Noah deserved the improved version if Daniel was willing to become it. My own change happened more quietly. One Tuesday evening, I was making tacos while Noah worked on spelling words. My work phone rang. I looked at it. Old Claire would have answered automatically. There was always something. Someone needed a schedule fixed. Someone needed an approval. Someone needed me. I declined the call. Noah looked up. "You didn't answer." "No." "Why?" "Because I'm making tacos." He nodded seriously. "Good." 5 minutes later, my coworker texted, "Not urgent. Tomorrow is fine." Tomorrow is fine. I read those words twice. For years, I had treated every need like an emergency because being needed made me feel secure. If mom forgot something, I fixed it. If dad struggled, I offered money. If Madison had a problem, I made a plan. If Daniel failed to finish something, I handled it myself and quietly resented him. That wasn't why Daniel betrayed me. It wasn't why Madison chose him. Those choices belonged to them. But being useful had become too much of my identity. I had started confusing usefulness with worth. I didn't want Noah learning that from me. 2 years after the night I left the Worthington house, I was standing in our backyard when I heard it. Bong. Pause. Bong. I froze. The gate. The latch on our new backyard gate had loosened. For 1 second, I was back in that freezing driveway. Dark porch. Open gate. My son on the floor. My sister's boots by the stairs. Then Noah yelled, "Mom, the gate's broken." I looked toward the garage. For the briefest moment, an old reflex appeared. Daniel would know how to fix that. Then I smiled. "Get the toolbox." Noah ran inside. He came back carrying it with both hands. We examined the latch. 2 screws had pulled loose from the wood. I showed Noah how to remove them. We moved the plate half an inch, drilled new holes, put the screws back. 14 minutes. Noah opened the gate, closed it, opened it again, closed it again. I gave the latch one final serious pull. "It works, Mom." I looked at him, at the house behind us, at the kitchen window, at the yard, at the gate that stayed closed when he let go. "Yeah," I said. "It does." For years, I thought dignity meant holding a family together no matter how heavy it became. I know better now. Sometimes dignity is knowing what deserves fixing and what you finally need to walk away from. So tell me this: if you came home and found your spouse with your own sibling and then discovered your family had helped hide it, what would hurt you most? The affair, the planning, the money, or knowing your child had been pulled into the secret? And if those people eventually admitted what they did and genuinely changed, would you ever let them back into your life? Or would distance be the only form of peace you could trust?